So what we got here is 4-link suspension tied into a rear steering with an ADS coilover shock, Firestone called triple bellow airbags. My third members are at axle transmission. It had the original gear ratio was a 683, and we're changing it to a 456. So instead of going 30 miles an hour, hopefully we'll go about 100 miles an hour. Back here, what we got is called a sway arm. We fabricated this in the shop, ground it all, and polished. This is the torsion arm up here on the top that catches the sway arm. So the thing is nice and balanced, so when you turn a corner, it doesn't lean one way or the other.
Wow.
And the chassis itself is made from 3-inch square tubing. I'm going to say 3.5. It's made from 3-inch square tubing, 3/16 wall. And the reason these look like spades or parts is I made wasn't a mistake. I had to put a gusset in for a brake line up here in the front, and I got looking at it and I stood back and I put another gusset in, and wow, that looks like a spade. These housings are all powder coated. There's no Bondo or fill in here. This is all metal that has been ground to a radius finish. All these pieces were cut out with a torch, all by hand and ground. Nothing was done with a computer or a computerized plasma cutter or laser cutting machine or water jet. None of that fancy stuff. Every piece of this was handmade. And up here we've got these cross members, these X braces. This is where a lot of the strength of the truck happens from. And I've built these ports in here to run all my wiring and air lines. This is an old fence pipe that I used. That was kind of a trick to get that in, but it looks pretty cool. And up here is where the power plant's going to go, underneath what we call the shock hoop. This hoop is where a lot of the energy gets absorbed from one side to the other. And I've got a 2007 Monarch motorhome that I bought. And in that motorhome, it's a pusher diesel, like a Class A, real high-end motorhome. It's got an 8.8 ISL 400 Cummins engine with a 6-speed MD 3060 6-speed double overdrive transmission. It's going to be a transplant. We're going to take the engine, transmission, all the wiring, and the amenities out, put it in this thing. And of course, there's Jesse. Hey! There's Jesse. Say hi to the camera, Jesse.
Hi, camera.
Say, long time no see. And this is our mascot. Say hi, mascot.
Hi, mascot.
Say your name.
Name's Walter.
Hey, Walter.
What do you do, Walter?
I weld. Whatever you tell me to do.
What else you do?
I keep the troops entertained.
I came up with this harebrained idea to build like this giant port. And in this port, I'm going to have a really cool octagon structure with my amplifiers buried up inside of it. I'm going to take polished stainless and tilt it down so from the inside it looks like a mirror. Now these little slotted holes, what these are going to do is I'm going to take a piece of 3/4 inch plexiglass, sand the back of it, and I'm going to drill into it and put LED lights inside of this plexiglass. And this thing's going to light up all the way around. So it's going to look like the loading dock on the USS Enterprise.
Cool.
I'm going to take polished stainless and break it, bring it over this, and I'm going to have electric windows below it. So we've been through a lot of learning curves in building these limo trucks, and one of the learning curves is that there wasn't quite enough room for people to sit in here. It wasn't quite wide enough. So I thought, gosh, I would like to make this thing a foot wider. How the hell am I going to do this? So I thought about stretching the tailgate. Well, that doesn't work. Then I thought about, what if I add another set of bed sides on here? So I took another set of bed sides and put them side by side, and that gave me 6 more inches on either side. Then we just covered the whole thing, and I'm going to put all the tail lights in the bumper. These little bins here are called beer wells. So they serve 2 purposes. It's a beer well, and it sits over the shock tower. So now that we made the bed a foot wider, I had a problem with the I had a problem with the bed sticking out. So I took a set of cab corners. You can kind of see the radius here. We cut the bed corner off, put a cab corner on. Come on over here and look at the cab corner real quick. So I took this section here of the cab corner, cut it out, so I had this nice little radius, and we had to take a left and put it on the right hand side. So now I've created a radius. Then I took a bed side and brought it back around into the cab. Then I had to invert this back into the front of the bed. I took a door skin and cut it to fit and inverted it. So it has a clean, seamless look to it. And here's the cab that we're using on the truck. And I've stretched the front end of this 12 inches. And the way I did that, if you look down here, this is identical to the original cab. So I cut 12 inches of a cab cowling out and I added it to this cowling here. That's how I was able to stretch the front end. Now with the fenders, I had to take a F250 fender, which I had an example, and cut 12 inches off the back of that and add it to the back of the F600 fender. And that's how we got a 12-inch stretch in the front.
So this is the grill right here.
That's nickel plated.
Nickel plated. It looks nice.
Yeah, this is the war room. This is
war
where all the
room.
ideas come from. This kind of looks like a thermometer, but really this is called a bell crank. And what this does is, because the steering box sits on top of the axle, there's really no way to steer the front wheels. So, and with the 4-link suspension, we take a drag link and bring it down to the bell crank off the steering box about 7 feet. Then we take another drag link and take it down to the knuckle. So then this bell crank pivots where this hole is on a forged spindle, just like this. And that allows us to steer it. And we don't have any bump steer either. That's all cut out with a torch, all done by hand. Yes. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, shit.
This little piece of artwork is for the transfer case. The transfer case sits right in there. All handmade. Each piece bent. We stuck it in the vise, heated it up, and bent it.